My name is Darryl Rowan, and I did this research with my co-authors Noah Ari and Johnathan Mell. So we wanted to be able to measure effectiveness in multi-agent teams, and specifically teams that have differing skill sets and differing abilities. So as Gita mentioned, effective teamwork is important across a wide range of domains, and being able to assess teams, especially teams that haven't performed together before, is going to be a lot more important as mixed agent teams and interdisciplinary teams become the norm. So we wanted to build an effective metric that could measure effectiveness in mixed agent teams, whether they were agents, robots, humans, or any combination thereof. And doing so effectively to be able to proficiently measure the success of those teams against the whole is computationally expensive. So for a metric to be useful, we have to be able to measure across contexts, across domains, and across agent classifications. So our domain for this research is Heroes of the Storm, the MOBA, because it's interesting and a complex environment to measure things like group objectives, team behavior, and the ability to build a team. Our agents are divided into two classifications. We've got 90 characters that each have unique skills and abilities, and those are grouped into 6 roles based on their behavior within the team. That leads to a possible role combination of about 21 dyads, though we do look at those dyads from the lenses of both members of the team, so our set's a little bit larger. And also of note, this is for a single build of the game, so there is no behavior changes or any kind of power changes that went on during this recording. So some terminology. The P of A is probability of a win, given that agent A is on the team. P of B is a probability of win given that agent B is on the team. P of A intersect B is the probability of a win given that both agents are playing on the same team. P of A intersect not B is the probability of win given that agent A is on the team and agent B is not on the team, and the inverse. N is the number of team members whose relationship we're testing. So if it's a dyad, it's 2. If it's a full team, it's 5. And our target success rate is 50%. If we fall under 50%, then the team is not being successful. So to build the harmony index, we started with the geometric mean, which is the multiplication of all of the individual success rates of the members on the teams multiplied together and then performed in nth root. And we started with the geometric mean because it's sensitive to individual changes in the data, but it's also stable across long-term reads. But the geometric mean is also only looking at individual success rates. And what we really want to look at is how the members of the team affect each other. So we're looking at the relationships between all, in this case, 5 members of the team and how they either lift each other up or bring each other down. So to get this number, what we did was we looked at the individual success rates for each player with each other player on the team, and then without each other player on the team. We multiplied all those together, and then we performed an ith root. And we used an ith root because the number of elements in this formula comes out to n times n minus 1. So this formula we're seeing here at the bottom is the n equals 3 formula. And you can see it grows pretty quickly as the n number of members on the team increases. But the key here is because we're looking at dyads and the relationship between each pair of characters here, we can get this data very quickly and very easily. So we can perform extremely large team building calculations very quickly and very efficiently. So based on the results, we found 4 classifications of dyads, called them the harmony, uplift, depress, and discord. The harmony class is a class where both characters that are in this dyad are lifted up together by the presence of the other character. So in this case, it's 2 roles that both have a 50.1% success rate, but together they have a 53.2 success rate. Now, when we're looking at a target success rate of 50%, small changes in success rate matter. So this increase of 2.2% by merit of them playing together is very significant. On the other hand, we have a discord class, where these are 2 classes, 2 characters that bring each other down by merit of playing together. So we have one that has a 47.1 success rate alone, and the other has a 49.5 success rate alone, but together they have a 44.4% success rate. It's almost a 5% drop by merit of these 2 classes playing together. The uplift class is a class where role A has an increase by merit of playing with role B, but role B has a decrease. So in this particular case, we have a character that has a 49.5% success rate and another character that has a 50% success rate. But by merit of playing together, they drop that to 49.6. So role A has a gain here of 0.15% success rate, but role B has a loss of 0.35. They're actually paying dollars to buy cents of benefit for role A here. And the depressed class is the opposite view of that same pair. These classes brought up some interesting questions about self-assessment and whether each of these players actually understands that they are costing their own benefit to bring up the person that they're playing with. Now, one of the things that was important for us looking at this was the ability to predict performance in teams that hadn't been seen performing together before. So to be able to accomplish this, we needed to look at a team that had not been seen before, but that we also had the ability to actually look at their results. So to do this, we performed an excision on our data set. We looked for any team that had played more than 1,000 games together. Then we went through and eliminated all of those specific games from the data set before we calculated the harmony index for all the dyads. Then we recalculated the harmony index and compared the new harmony index for the team and the individuals against the entire data set. And then we performed the regression. So if we look at the data here, we can see that the regression for our harmony index showed a Pearson's correlation of 0.799 at a significance of less than 0.001. And the excised harmony index showed a Pearson's of 0.777 versus 0.563 for the original geometric mean. So you can see that the harmony index is more tightly correlated to the actual win rate than the geometric mean, even when we use a team that hasn't performed together before. Now we wanted to be able to visualize this data. So what we have here is a force-directed weighted network graph, where the node size is the number of positive relationships that each character has. The link color is the valence of that specific relationship, whether they were stronger or weaker with the other character. The link force is the value of the harmony index. And via the weighting of the links, the map will dynamically adjust to arrange itself in optimal patterns. So this data is all 90 characters. So it's a neighborhood of 8,100 relationships. So it's a lot to see. This would be really good for digital parsing. So if you had an algorithm that you want to look through and build an optimal team, this would be a good way to do that. But for a human, let's look at a smaller set of 10 potential team members. So dynamic map adjustment allows us to move the nodes around the map to map those positive node connections together. So we can see here where by color alone, you can start seeing where the optimal map of this is. But if you want to look at more data, the map is created with JSON. So rather than using a 2-color or a 4-color map as we have here, we could put in a color gradient to all of these connections. So we could build a map based on the strength of relationships in very fine detail in a manner that a human can look at and understand with just visual input. So where do we want to go from here? Well, the data that we've looked at here is the ability to build teams based on traits of the prospective members of the teams and how well they work together. We want to be able to look at anything that can be clustered as a heuristic. So we could theoretically take this in the other direction and say, we see that these characters playing against these characters have a higher success rate or a lower success rate. So we can theoretically do team drafting and say these players play best against what the other team is selecting. We could look and say, this is a particular map. So all of this data that we've looked at so far is every game that was played in this environment. But there are different maps in this environment. So we could say this particular type of map has a certain type of objective, look at the success rate on that type of map, and then say, these characters together will play best here. So we're looking at game balance here. The other thing we wanted to look at is toxic relationships. Based on that uplift and depressed class, would it be possible using the Harmony Index to look at a set of team members and find out which team members are sticking in a team that is toxic to them? Do they understand that they're losing their own utility by playing with this other person? And does it change how they behave? Thank you for listening. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.